Servus, habe die Ehre und willkommen zurück zu The Other Worlds. In den letzten Missionen auf der Hope, ich schätze mal, das sind die Kyro-Kapseln. Ich habe vor dem RAM, alias Rami nenne ich ihn jetzt, da unten irgendwie Angst. Ich habe hier letztes Mal pausiert, weil ich mir gedacht habe, da geht es auch sicher noch eine Weile weiter. Das wird auch wahrscheinlich so sein. Wir werden das jetzt versuchen. Ich weiß nur gerade nicht, wo ist denn eigentlich meine... Habe ich denn den Victor-Typen? Scheiße, ich habe den abgewählt vorher. Ich habe nur einen mit. Naja, da muss so auch gehen, hilft ja nichts. Ich glaube nicht, dass ich da wieder nach oben komme auf die Schnelle. Egal, probieren wir es mal, schauen wir mal weiter. Wir müssen da jetzt rein unseren Pineas-Typen, der was mich auftaut hat, retten. Weil ich der Sophia vom Vorstand da, Sophia Akande, den Krieg erklärt hat. Somit haben wir jetzt ein Problem. Und das Problem steht in Form eines Roboters da vor der Tür. Ja, wir können es ja mal probieren. Mehr als sterben können wir ja eh nicht. Los geht's. Ich habe Angst. Flammenwerfer hat den meisten Damage. Dann behalten wir den mal. Los geht's. So, mal kurz weg. Kriegt der auch Damage rein, oder? Okay, das hilft nicht viel. Oh! Sind die alle irgendwie behindert gerade, die Drohnen? Weil die hängen da alle rum. Oh! Ah, jetzt weiß ich, warum er Ram heißt. Das schaut aber nach was aus. Ich hätte gern, dass der mich rammt. Ach Gott, na. Das kann ich jetzt nicht brauchen, überhaupt nicht. Scheiße. Mann, ist jetzt weniger stressig als erwartet. Wahrscheinlich, weil die Nokia alles abfängt da, keine Ahnung. Ich hätte gern, dass der irgendwie da gegen so ein Paket da rennt. Wäre halt praktisch. Komm, stimm mich an. Und was habe ich das gerichtet? Ich war zwei dabei, ich muss ein Stück weg. Schaut gut aus hier. So. Komm, stimm mich an. Ja, genau so. Ja. Ah, Mist. Du bist ein Idiot. Im Normalfall wird es wahrscheinlich wieder besser laufen, wenn ich einfach auf den Baller. Okay. Ja. Stirb! Kann nicht zu weit weg mit dem Flammenwerfer. Ah! Okay, jetzt wird's kritisch. Wo ist denn jetzt der Typ? Da ist er. Gott sei Dank kann ich so viel Flammenwerfer, Muni. Ah! Ja, komm, jetzt stirb. Oh, warte mal, das schaut da oben aus, so wie wenn es da oben besser wäre, wenn ich ihn... ja, gut, dass ich das am Schluss sehe. Das hätte ich wahrscheinlich die ganze Zeit anballern können, oder? Warte mal. Hey. Keine Ahnung. Okay. Weniger tragisch als erwartet. Was liegt denn da noch alles rum? Ja, ein paar von denen haben wir ja platt gemacht. Schauen wir mal. Und die Räume ist nicht viel zu tun. So, wir müssen darauf. Es scheint hier eine... Schau mal. Ja! Da habe ich das. Ja, das habe ich von dem Roboter das braucht. Die Frage ist nur, was man dann für eine Waffe gleich. Ja. Das schaut gut aus. Wir laden durch. Ja, okay.
Why won't you just...
Okay, das war jetzt nicht so der arge Kampf, den ich jetzt erwartet habe. Da blitzt draußen. Befreie Pioniers.
You don't know how glad I am to see you. You did the right thing. Akande was a monster. Her death was much deserved, and long overdue. And you lunatic, you broke into the board's own fortress just to rescue one doddering old man. You are absolutely out of your mind, and I can't begin to thank you enough.
So, ist alles in Ordnung mit dir? Was haben sie dir angetan? Machst du Witze? Der Vorstand hatte nie eine Chance gegen mich. Du weißt, dass ich nie zulassen würde, dass das passiert, Pineas. Hast du eigentlich eine Ahnung, was ich alles auf mich nehmen musste, um dich zu retten? Ja, das passt.
What? Break into the most heavily guarded facility in the most hostile world in Halcyon? No, I have absolutely no idea how you did it. You're a goddamn miracle worker. You've broken the board's stranglehold on this colony, and you saved my life. But there's still so much we have yet to accomplish. You and I are going to have to work harder than ever to save Halcyon. I'm afraid the situation is far worse than any of us ever anticipated.
Ja, das hört sich jetzt gar nicht gut an.
Earth has gone dark. We haven't received a single message in 3 years. There's been no communication, no signals, nothing. 2 years ago, the Earth's Directorate's frigate disappeared on their way back to Earth. We don't know what they discovered when they arrived, or if they arrived at all.
So we've got to make do on our own. Seems to me that'll make us stronger in the end anyhow.
You're quite right. We've got no choice but to make do on our own. We're in serious trouble, my friend. Do you know what this means for Halcyon? We can't rely on Earth for support anymore. We've been cut loose. We're entirely on our own.
Fang mal an.
Yes, we do. You've done a marvelous thing. You've succeeded where anyone else would have failed, including me. We must begin the revival process immediately, starting with the Hope's brightest minds. And then we're going to fix this damn colony, one problem at a time. We're going to need a leader, and I can't imagine a better person for the job than you. What do you say, old friend? Will you help us?
Irgendwer muss sich um die Kolonie kümmern. Ich bin die einzige kompetente Person, die noch übrig ist. Du kannst auf mich zählen, ich werde dir helfen, ja, kann nichts viel zu bleiben. Ich werde das tun, was immer getan werden muss, und zwar was ich will, wann ich es will. Was ich immer getan habe, was ich will, wann ich will. Ja, jetzt bin ich die einzige kompetente Person.
You're the best thing to ever happen to Halcyon. If you want to take it upon yourself to lead this colony, you have my support. We're not a colony any longer, are we? Our last connection to Earth has been severed, and so we have been set free. Our future is uncertain, and no one knows what tomorrow holds. Exciting, isn't it?
Alter, my friend.
The OSI teaches that everything in the universe happens according to the grand plan. But the stranger that arrived in Halcyon was an unplanned variable. From the moment he landed in Emerald Vale, his actions altered the course of history. The events on Tartarus brought about the end of the board's authority. But the board's mistakes would haunt the colony for decades to come. The damage they left behind would require the work of a generation to repair. Dr. Phineas Wells began reviving a handful of the Hope's colonists. Engineers, scientists, technicians, and intellectuals. They were among the brightest minds the Earth had ever sent out into the stars. The Hope scientists and engineers woke up in a colony descending headlong into total collapse. With no way to return to Earth, they had no choice but to band together and devote themselves to the cause of saving Halcyon. The people of Halcyon were nothing if not hardy. In the absence of the board's authority, many of the colony's settlements banded together with a single purpose in mind: survival. Life was especially hard in the years to come. Some towns dissolved by attrition and starvation, but most of them found a way to carry on. In the years to come, Halcyon was forced to reckon with its newfound freedom. The board was gone, and for better or worse, the colony was responsible for its own destiny. Sanjar's civil liberties and worker-centric policies were slow to catch on with the other corporations. But as Halcyon began its long, arduous journey toward recovery, many of Terra 2's smaller townships started adopting MSI's alternative corporate structure, and eventually became entirely self-sufficient. In the coming years, many of these townships managed to eke by, where otherwise they might have starved. Consumed by paranoia, Lilia Hagen took Sublight Salvage in a controversial direction, openly accusing board officials of an extraterrestrial conspiracy. One day, an accident at the Groundbreaker's docking bay silenced her forever. Time would tell if her replacement could keep the Sublight family together. After returning to Edgewater, the deserters negotiated workplace reforms with Reed Thompson, including a single day of rest, which came to be known as a weekend. As the world around him changed, Thompson found himself pining for the old days. He was known to spend his weekends in the cantina, nursing one of the few remaining bottles of Zero G, and repeating to himself, "It's not the best choice, it's Spacer's choice." As for Adelaide McDevitt, she tended to her garden in solitude for another year before passing away. Her body was discovered some months later, when Reed Thompson paid her a visit in an effort to make amends. Her remains were buried in a place of honor underneath the floor of the Edgewater Cannery. Reed believed this was what she always wanted. Under the leadership of Junlei Tennyson, the groundbreaker held firm against corporate influence. The ship's mechanical stability gave Junlei the time to educate a promising generation of engineers, schooled in her family's traditions. The future of the groundbreaker looks promising. The rediscovery of the Hope and the abandonment of the lifetime employment program forced Byzantium to come to terms with some uncomfortable realities about the state of Halcyon. While Byzantines were reluctant to surrender the luxuries they'd grown accustomed to, the board's diminished authority gave them little choice in the matter. Nearly everyone had to learn to make do with less. Some even had to get jobs. It was a dark time indeed. Life in Halcyon was sobering for Felix Millstone. The grand revolution he dreamed of never came. There was no great awakening for the colony, no celebrations in the streets. There was only the hard, desperate work of trying to repair a broken colony. Felix never had a head for numbers, but if there was labor to be done, he was there to help. Eventually, Felix realized that the work of a revolution was done with two hands. As much as he enjoyed his adventures aboard the Unreliable, the vicar, known as Max, eventually decided that it was time to move on, to live out the life he had sought so long to create. He knew there were many in the colony who carried burdens much worse than the ones he had struggled with, and he devoted himself to easing their suffering wherever he could. He only ever took up arms again to defend the defenseless. Unshackled from a lifetime of striving and fighting the universe and himself, Vicar Maximilian de Soto was finally at peace. Though Parvati eventually grew comfortable aboard the Unreliable, she never quite came out of her shell. She seemed to prefer the company of Ada to the crew, and she could often be found neck-deep in cables and grease, telling Ada funny stories from her childhood. While the colony fell into chaos, she found an island of relative peace with Ada, and they formed an unusual bond. She decided to remain aboard the Unreliable permanently as its chief and sole engineer. Nyoka returned to Monarch to take another crack at making a permanent life for herself. She formed the Charon Group, an MSI subsidiary of ragtag survivalists and wilderness experts. Anyone in need of a guide, or just looking to throw back a beer and swap stories, could find her camping on the trail or clearing an infestation. Before his untimely death, Captain Alex Hawthorne had plans to restore and modify, for combat purposes, a sanitation and maintenance automechanical that he'd found in a state of disrepair in Emerald Vale's scrapyard. That unit remains broken down and forgotten in the Unreliable supply closet to this day. Minister Clark was released from house arrest, and his contact with you gave him a sense of renewed purpose and vigor. Once it became clear that no help would be coming from Earth, he threw his considerable efforts and talents into helping Halcyon manage the crisis before it. As for Dr. Phineas Wells, he spent his remaining years in his orbital lab. He eventually came to terms with his own past and was able to forgive the mistakes of his younger self by devoting his remaining years to serving the colony. Dr. Wells was able to revive many more scientists and engineers than he first expected, thanks to the additional batch of chemicals you stole from the ministry. Wells never forgot about the human lives that were lost in acquiring these chemicals. In the end, Dr. Wells was able to save every scientist and engineer aboard the Hope. Over the next decade, nearly all of the Hope's remaining colonists were successfully revived. Halcyon saw a period of rapid technological and scientific advancement. Breakthroughs in dietary supplements saved the colony from starvation. Geoengineering projects and social reforms began to change the structure and character of the colony. Dr. Wells laid the groundwork for the project to save the colony, but he would never live to see the fruits of his labor. He passed away a few years later. His work was carried on by the scientists and engineers he revived. Today, Halcyon has stabilized. The people of the colony work hard to adapt to their new circumstances. Nearby colonies send aid and supplies. Life will never be easy in Halcyon, but for the first time in its history, there exists a sense of real, genuine hope about the future. And what about you, the unplanned variable in the history of Halcyon?
Tja.
You brought an end to the chaos on Tartarus and proved yourself the most capable leader left in the colony. You administered the colony in your own image. With the old power of the board destroyed, a new government of Halcyon rose with you at its center. With your steady hand, you guided Halcyon through the turbulent years that were to follow, and helped ensure the survival of the colony until the end of your days. No one knows what's happened to Earth, and no one knows what the future has in store for Halcyon. All we know for certain is this: the name of the Unreliable and that of its intrepid captain will remain the subject of countless stories for years to come.
Wow. Okay, jetzt mal nicht so überrascht getan, aber eigentlich hätte ich geglaubt, da kommt noch mehr. Weil den Roboter hätte ich so an einem Blatt machen können und die Tusse am Schluss war ja wirklich jetzt nicht schwierig. Da geht's rein, bam, weg. Ich hätte mir da noch mehr erwartet. Aber okay. Wir haben es geschafft. The Outer Worlds ist durch. Wir haben es erledigt. Ich bedanke mich bei allen, die zugeschaut haben. Bei allen, die es noch werden, vielleicht in Zukunft mal googeln danach. Ich weiß nicht, ob es bei mir jetzt ein neues Singleplayer-Projekt geben wird. Es gibt so viele Multiplayer-Games, die was ich bevorzugter spiele. Overwatch, Psycho, No Man's Sky, bald Ark, Genesis, Atlas. Ich kann leider nicht alles auf einmal spielen. Ich würde gerne alles auf einmal spielen. Wäre ich Profi-YouTuber, würde ich wahrscheinlich den ganzen Tag durchstehen, unterschiedliche Spiele zocken. Ist aber nicht so. Die Realität ist immer hier. Macht auch nichts. Man soll ja eh auch ein bisschen was anderes tun. Somit bedanke ich mich fürs Zusehen. Schalt's wieder ein. Ein neues Spiel kommt sicher. Last Year zum Beispiel spiele ich gerade an. Passt in den Zeitraum gerade, falls es noch wer nicht gesehen hat. Cooles Game. Muss sich noch entwickeln, das gebe ich zu. Aber jetzt mal geht's weiter mit. Ich schätze mal Overwatch Winter Event 2019. Schaut's rein. Ich verlinke es euch rechts oben auf dem Info-Button. Und lasst ein Abo da, wenn es euch gefallen hat. Und schreibt es darunter, unter dem Part, den letzten hier, was ihr wollt. Ich lese alles und werde auch darauf antworten. Wenn ihr einen Wunsch habt, irgendwas ich vergessen habe, ein Spiel, was ich spielen soll, was euch interessiert, schreibt es rein. Danke für die Aufmerksamkeit, danke fürs Zusehen und wir sehen uns im nächsten Video, im nächsten Game. Ich freue mich schon auf euch. Ich lasse das noch laufen, falls noch was kommt, melde mich nochmal und sonst bis dann, habt einen schönen Tag, genießt, was ihr mir gerade macht und bis zum nächsten Mal, meine Freunde. Ciao.